Now, don't get me wrong, gimbals are a great piece of technology. They allow us to get movements that a consumer normally couldn't get, like for example, dolly movements, Steadicam, jib movements, something you couldn't get as a budget option before the Mobi or DJI Ronin M dropped. And I invested in a gimbal pretty early on. I got my Ronin M back in 2017 and it was hands down one of the best investments I ever did. I used it basically on every single shoot at that time and it served me really well. And even still nowadays, of course, I still use a gimbal on a daily basis. For example, I got the DJI RS3 Pro right here and I use it on every shoot. For example, if I'm shooting small image videos, I basically only use the Sony a7S III on the gimbal, mostly on 60 FPS to get some smooth B-roll shots. Just walk around stuff, products, people, cars, houses, everything. I use the gimbal to get some nice parallax shots while moving around anything. Because gimbals are great, but that doesn't mean that you should only use gimbals for each and every shot when it doesn't make sense. Handheld shooting really gets overlooked these days, even though it's the first thing that makes sense when picking up a camera, maybe even before shooting on a tripod, is shooting handheld. Just take a camera, shoot handheld. But why don't we do it? Handheld in 2024 is really underrated and you should maybe think about shooting handheld. Because just because you have a gimbal doesn't mean you always have to use it, let alone use movements that don't make any sense, like use a dolly movement or a jib movement when it's not motivated by anything in the scene. Of course, it's something else if you're doing product videos or image videos like I just talked about. Then of course it's okay to just use a gimbal, get some pretty shots, even though it doesn't make any sense, but it looks polished, looks good. That's when you use a gimbal. But if you're shooting something like a narrative or a music video or something that is a little bit more creative than just your basic image video, think about what you're trying to convey in your scene, what you're filming and what you want the audience to feel. And if the gimbal really is the best choice for filming, for example, a concert video. This actually happened a few days. I shot a concert video for a friend, live concert, 5-camera setup. I had just some cameras on a tripod. I had the Sony a7S III, the a7S II, my old Canon, the GoPro, everything on tripods to film different angles. And I was on the stage with my Sony FX6 handheld, shooting handheld because it made the most sense to me to convey the energy, the rawness of them performing powerful songs live. It just didn't make any sense for me to use a gimbal. So that's why I went handheld. And we got a comment, please use a gimbal next time. I mean, I got 3 gimbals right here. It's not like we didn't have the option, I just made this choice on purpose because I thought it would translate more of the action happening on stage. That's why I went handheld. For example, this shot would look terrible on a gimbal, like boring. I mean, of course it would still look good because they're performing, they're having fun, but shooting this one handheld, going left and right with the camera, capturing the back and forth between the singing and the electric guitar, I am 100% certain the energy wouldn't transform that good if we would have shot that on a gimbal. Same with action. For example, action movies. Of course you can shoot a fight scene on a gimbal or on a dolly, and of course that one is always up for debate, the shaky cam. If it's too shaky and you can't see anything of the action, it's cheap, fake action, and if you shoot it on a gimbal, it's good action. But I personally like some handheld footage in an action film because for me it translates the action more to the viewer. If you have shaky handheld footage, you feel like you're in the scene getting punched or punching someone, for example in an action scene. And the same with music videos. Of course it can be a style choice. For example, here I used a gimbal to rotate around the singer and the actress, and it works for the scene. I'm really happy with it and I did it on purpose. And it works not only for the scene but also for the song. It's a love song, we have smooth movements, cinematic type stuff. But on my latest music video that I shot with some gangsters, of course shooting handheld was the better option. Rough, raw energy. And that's why you should always think about what you're filming, think about what you're trying to convey, how you want the audience to feel, and if a gimbal or shooting handheld is the better option. That's it from this video. Next week I'm going to show you some tips to get better handheld footage. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and also consider subscribing right here for more videos just like this one. You can find more videos right here, and I will hopefully see you next week for the handheld tips. Goodbye!